Welcome everyone to Global Purpose Speaks. I'm your host, DJ Taz Rashid, and I'm a musician who travels to mindful festivals and events all throughout the world. And one of my passions is to have conversations with transformational leaders, learn about their unique missions and how they're changing the world. This talk series is created in partnership with Global Purpose Movement, a collection of change makers convening and co-creating in our Earth's current shift towards a world that's working for everyone. And today we're speaking with Mackenzie Hall, who is a meditation teacher and a coach to professionals on how to hone their intuition or knowing and live with greater clarity, calm, and focus. Mackenzie has a background in tech, working with companies like Facebook and Blackbox.vc. And being among highly cerebral and overextended entrepreneurs was the initial incentive to study mental health through the lens of Buddhist, Taoist, and Vedic traditions. She spent 2 years living in Asia exploring ways to make meditation and mindful practice more accessible to Westerners. In 2014, Mackenzie found Realign retreats in Bali, Indonesia for tech founders and entrepreneurs. In 2014, Mackenzie founded Realign retreats in Bali, Indonesia for tech founders and entrepreneurs to learn how to reboot their minds and lead their companies from a greater sense of well-being. Mackenzie, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you for the intro. Super complete introduction, like I said before.
I love it. I usually pick lines here and there from introductions, but like your bio was great. I feel like it was just like a great complete way to just summarize some of the basic things you were doing. But I want to jump in, and what I'm interested in is like you have a background in tech, working with some of these big companies like Facebook. Like, what happened in your line of work that caused you to start studying like mental health? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, great question. Well, my body and my mind started breaking down. I was suffering from a health crisis at the time. I had a chronic illness, and I was in a lot of pain. And so I was looking for an antidote to help relieve me of my suffering. I discovered meditation somewhere along the way and became fascinated by it. This was around 2000. This was around 2012.
Okay.
And Google had in 2008, Google had come out with the first mindfulness-based emotional intelligence program called Silly. And had started training about 150,000 engineers a year.
Wow.
And so I learned about this. I was finding incredible results with meditation with my own practice. And so I got really interested in how to start holding space for others in the industry who are struggling with their mind or their body. In tech, we tend to be really cerebral and live from the neck up. And part of meditating, you think of mind with meditating, part of meditating is dropping into the body and becoming more aware through all the senses. And I became very interested in that specifically. So much so that I wound up leaving my job in tech left everything really and moved to India. I've been a bit of a truth seeker all my life, and I needed to go to the source and understand, where is all this stuff coming from? It's so powerful that it's affecting my life in the West and California. It's the trickle down sage wisdom is now moving through companies like Google. What is this? So I went on a journey in Asia to find out myself where it all came from.
India's like such a big place, and there's so many meditation teachers, gurus, saints, yoga. There's so much going on there. How did you select, or like, how did you choose where to go and what tradition to study or teach? Or like, did you have some guidance? Like, how did you find that?
I didn't have a freaking clue where to start. And I'm the type that wants to try it all on before I choose. So I
got the buffet of spiritualism. You're like, I want that, I want
that. Exactly. So essentially, it does come back to the intuition. I basically just intuited what my mind and body were most curious to receive. And that kind of led me from one thing to the next. And so I just kind of moved around northern India, studying with different teachers, learning different modalities. It took me through Nepal. It took me to Indonesia. and I just continued the hunt. At that time, I was hunting more in an outward way. And it really wasn't until I arrived in Bali and had more chances to go inward, and then actually moving back to the West, that I really dedicated my practice to my exploring my interior. So ironically, all of my travels in India led me right back to California.
Full circle, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, like, while you were down there, just a little bit more about your travels, like while you were in India, and to say even in Bali, just out east, what were your personal, like, some of your biggest ahas, like those moments where you're like, I know there's like many moments, but like, what were some of those big moments that you can just viscerally remember, like, wow, I could just experience this wisdom in my body that like lives with you today. Like, can you name like two or three of those experiences and what you felt?
I can. The first was with a Swami named Swami Sachidananda, and we called him Swamiji. And he facilitated a workshop during which I was acquainted with my breath for the first time. And I remember experiencing viscerally what it was like to have my breath or my spirit go through my body. And it was when I realized that the breath is the gateway. The breath is the vehicle to greater awareness, to greater understanding, to greater embodiment. And then that was a profound moment for me.
Wow.
That's the one that's coming to me now. There were many other moments. I think another experience was profound in India was when I had heard about an ashram that I had to go to, and I had no idea really where this place really was. I heard about it at a graduation party in Washington, D.C.
Nice.
And I was in Rishikesh.
That's a cool graduation party.
I know.
I'll tell you that.
So I went on this wild goose chase, really, through northern India trying to find this ashram. And I wanted to go because I heard that they were teaching children how to meditate. They're basically teaching the core curriculum subjects to kids, but through meditation. And I found it. I eventually found it. It was in the middle of nowhere. And when I arrived, I walked into a classroom of 60 children, 5-year-olds meditating. These kids, 96% of the graduating class passes the government board exam.
What's the name of this school?
ATV school.
ATV?
ATV school.
Okay. ATV.
And so 96% of the graduating class graduates versus the 6% of all of the kids in the state of Uttarakhand. So they were just doing profound work, and the leader of the school was a very inspiring person. He took me in. They all took me in. It was an ashram of about 9 women and this one man. And we lived there together and would wake up, at 4 a.m. and meditate until dawn, and the same thing at the end of the day. And what I learned there was that it wasn't that the teachers were teaching anything to the children specifically. It was that they themselves were so rooted in their own practice of going inward that the children felt that. They felt the resonance, they felt the frequency, and they were empowered to learn themselves. They were empowered to take their education into their own hands.
Yeah.
And it's a very different way of teaching, and I really appreciate that, whether it's in school, whether it's a meditation teacher or a yoga teacher, but knowing how to meet the student where the student is and trusting that the student already knows the answer, and that the teacher just gets to hold the space for him or herself and hope that the student can do the same.
That's great.
Those big two that are coming in this moment.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And let's go from that experience, and from what you're doing right now. I understand you're working with different organizations and companies in the workplace. Like, what can you tell us a little about what you're seeing with the work you're doing currently? And like, our organizations, are we becoming more mindful in the workplace? Like, where are we headed right now? Is that just what we hear in this world, or is that really what's happening?
Yeah, well, it's really beautiful what's happening in the workplace, because there's this there's this movement towards mindfulness. Some joke it's called the McMindfulness movement because some of its original intention around ethics and morality are being lost to corporations wanting to look good for their employees and offering some of these services. But nonetheless, it's a really positive. There are some really positive programs out there. So I work in a number of ways where I'll either go into a company and work with a group of engineers or work one-on-one with founders or tech entrepreneurs, and they're hungry for it. So it's great to see. I think, with the rise in technology, there's simultaneously the necessity for ways to calm the mind. There's just so much distraction. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time when I go into these tech companies, my students just say, anything to help me with all the distraction. I'm having such a hard time staying in the moment. So it's great to see that people are excited to kind of start changing the relationship they have with their mind. I would argue the word is mindlessness. And not mindlessness, because in tech, there's too much mind. It's so cerebral, like I said. So I would argue that it's really about helping people trust more their body and their knowing versus what their mind is telling them. So I think it's a combination of being mindful in the moment and considerate and really present with oneself while being able to rest more fully in the physical embodied experience. So there's kind of an interesting thing there with those words.
Well, it's interesting. You're focused on the tech world, and when I think about it, it's like it doesn't matter if we're in the tech world or not. We're all working with gadgets and gizmos and computers all day. Like we're all in the tech world in that sense.
That's right.
We're all dealing with emails and typing. It's just like our mind is constantly connected to this technology, like all day. It doesn't matter what we're doing work-wise, right? Like computers are involved. So like from your experience and what trends you're seeing, like what can you say about, let's just stick to the next 3 to 5 years? What do you foresee happening? What do you think needs to happen? What can we do to make that a success? Like I would just love to hear from your, if you could just give us a prophecy.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll do my best. Well, I think it's a little bit like the yoga movement. I mean, one of the things that you've seen happen with yoga is it's kind of started off some years ago and you had people who were excited. Now it's like there's a yoga studio on every corner, especially in California. I mean, you don't have to look very far for a yoga studio. The yoga, ultimately, the entire sequence of the yoga class is leading up to the final moment of stillness. It's leading up, like preparing someone for the meditation. And even you look at the word asana in yoga, which means seat. So each posture is just learning how to create a better seat for your soul to some extent. So it's almost like the yoga practice itself has helped us, and the movement has helped us arrive to the moment of silence at the end of the practice. And now is the time to really honor and own what having a practice of stillness and silence means. And I think people are more ready for that. I think that now that we're starting to use our bodies and create more space in our bodies, and now that it's a bit more of a trend, the mindfulness and meditation,
it's cool to be mindful now. It's cool.
Oh yeah. For sure.
I mean, it's from cool. It's becoming sexy to be mindful, right? That's the trend. It's sexy to be mindful.
Yeah, completely. And I think we'll just continue to see more of it, more people on board. In the next years, it's just inevitably so with the movement and technology, like you say, everyone's connected. And I think that because of the superficial connection, now everyone's seeking a deeper connection.
Great. I'm happy to hear that. No, that's nice. As far as I saw that, you're working with companies, but you're also taking people on retreats. Can you tell us a little bit about these aligned retreats that you've been taking them on, and what are your goals with that over the next? Is it going to be just mainly for tech, or are you opening it up? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. Well, I started this in Bali, and at that time it was for tech specifically. I really wanted to help.
Real quick, what part of Bali do you do these at?
They were just outside of Ubud. We would kind of
Okay.
travel over the place, but we were stationed just outside of Ubud.
I went there last year, or yeah, last year I went to Ubud. I went to the Bali Spirit Festival and performed there. It was beautiful.
I was gonna mention that to you. If you hadn't been there, I was gonna say that would be a good spot for you,
Yeah, my
considering your
wife and I
music.
went. We love Bali. So, anyways, I'm a big fan of
Yeah,
Bali. I want to go back, so I want to hear more about it. Go ahead.
yeah. It's a wonderful place. It's very nurturing, and there's a lot of people who are really interested in evolving into the best version of themselves. So it's a great environment for personal growth work. And so it was a great environment to bring people from tech interested in growing. And so I brought groups out to do these retreats in Bali. Um, Eventually, it became very challenging with immigration, and it
Mm,
became very challenging on my body to be in Asia. So I resolved to move back to California and start bringing the offering to people, the companies, without asking them to go all the way to Bali.
no, that's great.
Um, and I
Gotcha.
think it was also, as is with our offering, it's always a reflection of where we are in our own journey. And I was very much realizing, okay, the 1 week rejuvenation is wonderful, and the results happen in daily practice. So it was kind of the next evolution of the retreats was offering Realign Daily, which is more of a way to stay connected with people and help hold people accountable, help them with their practice, help them with their relationship with their mind, um, help them understand how to start turning on intuition and their body's sense of knowing as a whole organ or field of intelligence
Yeah.
versus cognition. That said, I still do the Realign retreats from time to time, probably about maybe once or twice a year. We actually have another retreat coming up, except we're taking a group to Tuscany, Italy this time.
Very nice.
And in not just tech, some are, probably about half will be, but kind of both, anything, coming from any industry. Like
Yeah, not just the tech world.
everyone's in
That's
need.
great.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, from I guess I heard about Sphere. You know, I've spoken with Dustin and Deval and John, and I'm just wondering, like, are you excited about that? Tell us a little bit about Sphere and how that's been going on, and because it just launched, right? The Sphere meditation
Yes,
app,
yes,
and
it
you're one
did.
of the main meditation teachers. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved with that, because that's a big offering to the world.
Oh, it's beautiful, and I feel very I'm very grateful to be part of that team. The best. It's been such a wonderful experience working with that team, and there was just a lot of resonance with all of us, which is I think how it came to fruition. And Deval just is such a wonderful CEO, spearheading the project. He has so much insight and the ability to really understand who all of the users are and how certain words or um, practices will be received by different kinds of audiences.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
you're
and so,
offering more techniques. Can you tell us a little bit about on the Sphere app? Like what kind of meditations are you offering on there?
yeah, I think it's an exciting thing with Sphere, and it's part of why I'm so excited to be on board because you've seen a lot with these apps, these other apps in the space, which are great because they offer kind of tools for people to calm down and focus. And one of the things that I found my experience when I explore these apps and have heard from others is that they might kind of hit the ceiling. They're like, okay, I've got the
Next one.
Band-Aid fix for my meeting today, and
Yeah.
how do I really learn how to wake up my mind? And Sphere is taking the approach of full spectrum. It's
Wow.
taking the approach of like, you're starting here and we're going to take you all the way full cycle.
Wow.
So that's what's so exciting about it. So I've been doing the breath track. These things could all change, as you know, startups are
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah.
iterating. But I'm just happy to contribute in whatever way I can to bring this juice to the world because it's good stuff.
Yeah. I'm excited to see how that evolves and grows because it's just getting started. Other than Sphere and Tuscany and like, what else are you excited about in 2017?
Oh, so much. I'm
Yeah.
so excited about this new year. I'm excited about what this new year will mean globally and for our country. I think that there's a lot of the election results were very grounding for a lot of people and drop into the reality of our situation. And I look forward to seeing how people come together and own their own experience in this next year, myself included. And I look forward to continuing to see what happens in this industry and all across the country, all across the world. I think there's a really beautiful thing happening with a rise in consciousness right now. I think it's just inevitably and undoubtedly happening, and it's so exciting to be part of. And I'm also excited in going deeper into my own practice and experience so that I can show up the best way I can for that movement.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a good year. Plus, I love 7. I love the number 7.
Yeah.
So,
and it's the Chinese.
We have that on our side.
It's the year of the rooster. I don't know if you know
the
Chinese ones. That's a good thing.
It is. Good year.
So I'm excited about that. What are some ways people can stay in touch with you? What are the easiest ways they can get involved or find out more information about you?
Yeah. Well, you could visit the website at realignedaily.com, or you could follow me on Instagram, Realign Daily again.
Realign Daily is Instagram? Okay.
Yeah, at Realign Daily. Or realignretreats.com. However.
Great.
Or ping me on Facebook. Or
I know, right? There's like 15 platforms. What do you prefer?
Yeah.
We'll include some of the main ones, the link, and so people can find out more information about you. Thank you so much, Mackenzie, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and so everyone, this is Mackenzie Hall, and thank you for joining another episode of Global Purpose Speaks. I'm your host, DJ Taz Rashid, and this talk series is created in partnership with Global Purpose Movement, a collective of change makers convening and co-creating in the globe's current shift towards a world that's working for everyone. You can join the conversation at globalpurposemovement.com, and we'll see you next time. Thank you all.